I remember a woman named, we'll call her Sadie, who I cared for years ago. She was admitted to the nursing home. Her husband had died the previous year, and she had just kind of kept to herself since then. She quit going to church. Family would try to get her to come out with them. She wouldn't go. Family would come by to try to visit, and she'd say, "Oh, I have a nap," or "I have a bad cold today. I really don't want anyone to come in." Neighbors would see her out taking walks either very early in the morning or late at night. She fed all the stray cats in the neighborhood, but she became increasingly more withdrawn as the year went on. And then she ended up in the hospital. She got sick. She actually got C. diff from having some antibiotics for a tooth infection or something that she had going on. And she was so weak and debilitated in the hospital that she then came to the nursing home, where she proceeded to just not eat or drink. And at first she said, "Oh, it's because every time I do, I have this terrible diarrhea." And so we finally had the staff really tracking her bowel movements, which were pretty minimal. And it became real clear that Sadie just was not going to eat or drink anything. She would take, literally, days went by and she would maybe get a whole cup of water down. We got family involved, and they all tried to talk some sense into her, and at one point we had her, we were putting her on antidepressants. We were talking to her about depression. We finally acknowledged that this was really what was going on. She finally acknowledged that this was what was going on. And she was willing to take her pills initially, but then she even stopped taking all the depression pills. We had her talked into going over to see a local doc about getting a feeding tube put in at one point. And she acknowledged she was willing to do this because she didn't really want to die, and then she refused to go on the day of her appointment. We finally flew her up to Albuquerque, where she was admitted to a psychiatric unit for elderly people. She was in her 80s at this point. And they intervened in every way that they could. And in the end, the family and the neuropsych people, the geropsych people, geriatric psychiatrists, sat down and had a big family powwow with the woman and acknowledged that she really wanted to die, and nobody was going to force her to put in a feeding tube or continue to give her IV fluids to keep her alive. And they allowed her to die this way. And it was an incredibly difficult thing for me to watch, and I was certainly glad to get this patient up into the hands of people in Albuquerque, but the outcome was the same as if we'd kept her here. And it was a real ethical, icky kind of thing for me on the one hand. On the other hand, here was a woman very advanced in her years who really did not want to live after her husband died. And unfortunately, she had the strong heart and the strong lungs and all those things that weren't going to just let her die of some infection or heart attack. She chose to die by depression, and I was happy in the end to see the family and the psychiatrists honor that wish of hers, although it still felt weird to me. And that's how bad depression can get in elderly people.